Hello, Internet. It is Adam Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Recap. So, February, eh, it's a it's kind of a difficult month to describe. I mean, it was definitely much better than January, and definitely much better than last February, which was a literal nothing month. Only three movies came out that month, and only one of those movies made any type of cash. This year, things are a lot less bleak. And in fact, we have not one, not two, but three success stories to come out of February 2022. In fact, one of those movies has now reached 100 million domestic, which is fantastic. That's certainly a much faster pace than last year. We didn't get our first 100 million movie last year until June, I think. So, yeah. So, definitely positive. But for February, it was, I guess you could say it was a mixed bag. There were some hits, then there were some bombs, and we're going to cover all of them. So, as usual, I'm going to compare my predictions with what actually happened, just to see how right I was, how wrong I was, and because I think it's fun. So, let's do it. So, first weekend of February, we had three movies that came out. And the first one was Jackass Forever. Now, in my prediction video, I said this movie would open between 20 and 25 million and make between 50 and 60 million. And you know what? I was right on the money. I really was, remarkably, because it opened with $23 million and has now made $54 million. So, yeah, very accurate. So I'm proud of myself for that. I knew this movie wouldn't be as big as the other Jackass movies, especially not the last mainline entry one, 3D. But, considering how cheap this movie was, it was like $10 million. I don't think Paramount's going to be complaining about this at all. So, yeah, I would definitely call it a hit, even if it didn't. It was, I think it's the lowest performing Jackass movie domestically, but because it's cheap, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, and this was like, and when it comes to movies, Paramount, they're two for two when it comes to their movies. In January they had Scream 5, here they have Jackass Forever, both being hits. So, for Paramount, things are going great. It's debatable if that streak's going to continue with The Lost City, but we'll see. But even if The Lost City doesn't do great, they got Sonic 2 right after it. So, yeah, things are looking good for Paramount right now. All right, so enough positive news. Let's get to the really, really bad news, and that revolves around Moonfall. Oh my god. Now, I knew this movie was doomed for a long time. I knew it wasn't going to do well. I predicted it would make between like 15 million opening weekend and it'll make like between 30 and 40 million total. That was my thought. That's what I thought was going to happen. I thought that was reasonable. I thought it would make Geostorm money. But this movie wishes it made Geostorm money because opening weekend it made less than 10 million opening weekend, which is for a movie that costs like $150 million. That is atrocious. That is that there's literally nothing positive you can say about that. And if that one bad enough, the legs for this movie have been horrendous. Look at these drops. Second weekend, it fell 70%. 70%. It went from number 2 to number 8. And then after that, it just fell off the face of the earth and has now made $18 million, which is barely more than what I thought it would make its opening weekend. So this is an absolute disaster, which is quite fitting considering it's made by Roland Emmerich, the man who made so many popular disaster movies. Speaking of Roland Emmerich, what he did after this movie's failure, well, you want to know what he did? It seems like what everyone else wants to do these days. Blame Marvel. Blame Marvel for what was clearly his own failures for making a movie that nobody wanted to see, and the fact that maybe the disaster movie has been played out largely because of Roland Emmerich. He's he is a part of, like, he played a direct hand at this movie's failure because, sure, like in the past you had like Independence Day, you had Day After Tomorrow, 2012. Those were all big, big, big hits. But after that, the disaster movie really fell apart. I mean, the only big one we've had since 2012 was San Andreas, and after that, just dead. It's yeah. So like, what was Roland expecting here? Like, what did he think was gonna happen? So yeah, and I guess I should mention Jackass Forever fell like 65% the same weekend. But the thing is, that movie was cheap. This movie was not. This movie was hella expensive, and it's gonna lose. Well, I don't know how much money this movie's gonna lose because this is one of those situations where there's like a bunch of foreign partners involved in it, and they all have certain rights, and it gets very confusing and convoluted. But what I know is that this movie's a flop. That's all I know. So, yeah, Moonfall, without a doubt, the biggest disaster of 2022 so far, by quite a large margin. I mean, I don't know what movie's gonna do worse than that when it comes to like box office versus budget, but we'll see. The last movie that I barely knew existed at all, The Wolf and the Lion, I had a feeling this was gonna happen. No one saw it at all. Even it did even worse than my prediction. Like, I already lowballed my prediction enough, where I predicted between like 250 to 500,000 opening weekend, like a million total. It only made 160,000 opening weekend, and then that's the only number we got. I don't know what it made after that. I can't imagine it made that much more. But this $160,000 number is all I have to work with. So yeah, this movie bombed. I'm not surprised. Let's move on. So that was the first weekend of February. So didn't get off to the greatest start. And the lackluster times continue with um, the Super Bowl / Valentine's Day movies. First one to talk about is Blacklight. Now, Blacklight, I knew wasn't going to do great. I predicted between like 3 to 5 million opening weekend, like 10 to 15 million total. That's what I thought it would do. And I was right with opening weekend. It made like 3.5 million. So, yay. I was right there. But then its legs have just not been great. And I actually said this in that video. I said once the Batman came out, the movie would die. And that's exactly what happened. Because it completely fell off. And it's pretty much has zero chance of making $10 million. So yeah, it fell short of my prediction a bit, my total prediction. I'm not that surprised about it because I've heard the movie is absolutely atrocious. The review scores are just so abysmal. That type of stuff I haven't seen in quite a long time. And it's probably, I mean, it's obvious Liam Neeson still has his fans, but at some point, I imagine that fan base has been much, much, much bigger in the past. With the Taken movies and his other movies like Nonstop, the gray, you know, those. But since then, it feels like his whole brand has been on the decline. And for this, you can't blame the pandemic as much as what happened with Honest Thief and The Marksman. Because when Blacklight came out, like enough movies have made money to where you're just like, well, I mean, you can't really blame the pandemic that much anymore. I mean, Spider-Man made money, Sing 2 made money, Scream made money, Jackass Forever made money. So it's hard to use that as an excuse nowadays. And so yeah, with Blacklight, I'd call it a flop, definitely. But it's a flop I saw coming, so and it wasn't even like a hilarious flop either. So yeah, it just kind of died. All right, next up, Death on the Nile. I overestimated this movie a little bit. I predicted between 15 to 20 million opening weekend and like 40 to 50 million total, which still wasn't great, but it did even worse than that. It only opened with like less than 13 million, like 12.8 million, and it's so far made 37 million, which is definitely not good compared to its predecessor, Murder on the Orient Express, which made about 100 million domestic. And the movie cost $90 million, so yikes. I mean, I'm not surprised about this, really, when you think about it. I mean, for one, this is a 20th Century Studios movie, as you probably know by now if you've watched any movie from 20th Century Studios I've covered. The track record is just horrendous. Only one 20th Century Studios movie has made a real amount of money, and that was Free Guy. Besides that, it's just been bomb, 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 and this joins the pack. And also, I don't know how much of an impact some of the actors had on this movie. Like, I know Gal Gadot, she's somewhat controversial amongst some people. I know Russell Brand's controversial. I know Leah Wright is controversial. And then Armie Hammer, who I'm surprised was still credited for this movie. Yeah, I don't know how much of an impact any of that had on this movie. It's hard to say. But the fact remains this movie underperformed. It did not make money and it's going to lose money. So, yeah. So, yeah, not much else to say about that. And then next, a real oof on my part. And that comes with what I thought how Marry Me would do. Now, I was way too optimistic with Marry Me. I thought it would be like a tie or like a real race for number one between Marry Me and Death on the Nile. So I predicted the same thing for Marry Me as Death on the Nile. I said between 15 to 20 million dollars, and then the movie opened with around 8. And yeah, that was just I oh, that was a real embarrassment. And with its and obviously I knew with Valentine's Day that would be its biggest day, its best day. Well, it wasn't, but it was close. Like it did really well that day. It was number one that day, but still only made like 3 million that day. And after that, it was all downhill from there. And his legs have been pretty brutal. And it's only made 21 million a total. So that's a big oof. It's a real underperformer. But to be fair, it has done better than any other romance movie I've covered in maybe I don't even remember since the pre-COVID days of like 2019. So, yay, I guess. I don't know. I mean, the movie wasn't super expensive anyway. It cost like in the mid 20s, so it's not like Universal's going to lose money on this or lose too much money. So like whatever, but Yeah, I expected a lot more, and I got a way less than I predicted. So yeah, in terms of actual predictions, it's between this and Moonfall for like the biggest oofs, like in the most negative way possible. So yeah, so that was it for that weekend. It was a pretty brutal weekend, but thankfully the next weekend after that, the 18th, was a big improvement. Well, of the three movies here, well, The Cursed is the odd one out because it did bad, but I knew it wasn't going to do well anyway. And in my prediction video, I said it would open between 1 to 2 million, and it did do that. Like exactly, like 1.7 million. I was right on the money. And for its total prediction, I think I said between like four, five, six, something. Maybe I don't remember, and it's made $4 million. So yay, it got close enough to my prediction. But yeah, this is still a pretty abysmal result. But it was an expected result because it had like no marketing. I didn't know this movie really existed until I watched Jackass Forever. I went with like a group to see it like on like Saturday, like the 12th, and I saw a trailer for this, and I was just like, "Wait, what? Oh, is that movie coming out like against Dog and Uncharted?" I was like, "What?" I was was thrown off guard a little bit, but should really tell you about how little promotion this movie had that a trailer threw me off guard, which should not happen ever unless it was like the first time the trailer was being shown, like say Doctor Strange 2, the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness trailer debuting as the post credit scene for Far From Home, No Way Home. Okay, this was not that. And yeah, I can't say I'm surprised that it didn't do well. So yeah, not much else to say there. Now, some positive news for once. Dog. Now, Dog, my prediction, I had a feeling it could overperform, but after what happened with Marry Me and Death of the Nile, I brought my prediction back. I toned it down. I said it'll open like 10 million and like 13 for like the 4 day and make like 30 million total. Guess what? It made 14 million for the 3 day weekend and 17 million for the 4 day weekend. And after that, its legs have been really good. And it's now made $40 million, which is quite good for a movie that costs about around 15 million. And yeah, like I was very satisfied with how well this movie did, especially since, the year was looking very depressing at the before this movie came out. So, yeah, this was a pleasant surprise. And when it comes to Channing Tatum's next movie, The Lost City, which comes out later this month, I say this movie's success is a good sign for that movie because this movie was just all about Channing Tatum and a dog, and that's it. But that was literally the thumbnail I used for my prediction video for this movie. And enough people were interested in it. So if people are willing to watch just him and the dog, people might be willing to watch him and Sandra Bullock. Maybe. We'll see. But yeah, Dog, I would definitely call a success story. So yeah, and the fact that it made more money than Marry Me and Death on the Nile and Moonfall, it did better than all of them domestically, is quite surprising. So yeah, but we have yet to talk about the big surprise, and that's this next movie, Uncharted. Uncharted is an interesting one. Now, before February started, I believed this movie was DOA. I really thought it was DOA for several reasons. One, this movie, based on the Uncharted games, came out a good 6 years after the last mainline game, that being Uncharted 4. So, like, that's a stupidly long gap between the games and the movies, which I think is a bad idea. Ideally, you want the gap to be a lot closer. You want the movie to come out at the same time as the game so both can benefit each other. But they didn't do that. It took a stupidly long time for this movie to get made. Next thing is the casting. A lot of people thought the casting was very iffy with Tom Holland. Many people consider him way, way, way too young to be Nathan Drake. And then you had Mark Wahlberg as Sully, who was also way too young for that character. And the whole thing was, it felt very off to a lot of people. When like the trailers came out, when like photos came out, people weren't digging it all that much. And yeah, like those like the two big things that I thought would be like, well, this movie's screwed. And not to mention the whole video game movie. I mean, it's better than what it once was, but that stigma still exists. And Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City is proof that that stigma still exists. But to my utter shock, this movie made money. A lot of money, actually. Nah, and when I made my prediction video, I made it that Friday when the movie was coming out. I saw its preview number and I was like, oh, wow. People are actually interested in this? That's okay. Now, if I made that prediction video before I saw that preview number, I would have said between like 20 to 25 million. But then that preview number hit and I was like, okay, it'll do better than that. But I'm still gonna lowball it a bit, so 25 to 35 million for the 3 day. That's what I thought it would do. And then like 30 to 40 for like the 4 day. But it made 44 million the 3 day and 51 million for the 4 day, and my jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, wait a minute, what? How is this happening? What's going on here? And what I didn't, well, I think I mentioned it maybe in the video, but I guess I underestimated the power of Tom Holland, especially after No Way Home. And the fact that this movie came out so soon after No Way Home was a genius business move. I bet someone at Sony is like super proud of themselves over the decision to release Uncharted right after No Way Home. It it clearly worked, and I guess although a lot of fans weren't a big fan of Tom's casting, I guess from a business sense, it made all the sense in the world. I mean, No Way Home is one of the biggest movies of all time. It single-handedly saved movie going for like the next few years, and with No Way Home, so many people watching that movie. I bet an Uncharted trailer played before No Way Home, so that movie got the biggest exposure ever. And people saw the Uncharted trailers and the ads. Like, oh wait, that's the Spider-Man guy. So they recognized him. And I guess no doubt Tom Holland is the reason why a lot of people saw this movie. So I guess that begs the question: is Tom Holland a draw? With this movie, it seems kind of likely, but then again, there was Chaos Walking, which was a complete shit show last year. But obviously, that movie was screwed no matter what. But this movie here, Uncharted, I mean, now Sony, they straight up said we have a new franchise, so I would fully expect a sequel to be greenlit and to be given a release date relatively soon. I don't know how soon, but probably within the next few months they'll say something about it. And Yeah, so Uncharted, without a doubt, the biggest hit of well, not the biggest hit. Well, it was the first big hit of 2021, and now, well, it's hard to say which movie got to 100 million first because technically Uncharted and the Batman got there roughly like the same day, but no doubt the Batman got there a lot quicker on that day. But still, Uncharted, when it comes to release dates, it's the first 2022 movie to reach 100 million, which is very impressive. And when it comes to video game movies, this is fantastic. This is phenomenal. I mean, its opening weekend, 44 million, only three video game movies did better. Lara Croft Tomb Raider from 2001, Detective Pikachu, and the Sonic movie. So when it comes to the video game movie, it's in the it's in the elite group, and its total box office is also within the elite group, being one of the few video game movies to make 100 million domestic. So Uncharted is an undisputed success. I mean, I've heard the movie's kind of but whatever. It made money, and they're likely going to make sequels. So yeah, Uncharted, you are the winner of February with relative ease. I mean, it's not like the competition was that brutal, but yeah, Uncharted, good job. You shocked me. uh, so yeah, and then so that was it for that weekend, and then February ended with an absolute whimper with two movies that did really pathetic. First of them being Cyrano here. Now, I knew this movie was screwed. I knew it was going to make money, and lo and behold, it made no money. I predicted it would open between like 1 to 2 million opening weekend, and so far it's made 2.5 million. Granted, it's only been like it's in second week, but I don't know if it's gonna reach the 4, 5, 6 million that I thought it would. It might come close, but yeah, this movie it's a bomb in my eyes. And again, I saw this coming with the very low theater count. You know, the fact it felt like busted Oscar bait. It had no chance, and yeah, not surprised by this result at all. So yeah. And last and certainly least, Studio 66, a 6. Like Cyrano, I knew this movie was screwed. I knew it wasn't going to make any money, and it made no money. What a surprise. Like Cyrano, I predicted between like $1 to $2 million opening weekend, and it did hit that 1.5 million opening weekend. I thought it would make between, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 million, maybe. I don't know if it's gonna reach that anymore because it's second weekend. Oof. Fell 78%. I knew this movie would be front loaded, but Jesus Christ. Ooh, that is horrendous. And its opening weekend was front loaded too. I mean, it felt like 30% on a Saturday, which is just awful. So yeah. So I guess, although I know this is like mostly alright, this was like a Foo Fighters movie. I know the Foo Fighters, they have their fans. I know that. But it seems like none of their fans gave a shit, or not enough of them gave a shit. And that's why the movie did so bad. Probably would have helped if the movie had like, better advertising. They actually tried, but nope, they didn't try, and the movie tanked. So, yeah, yeah, and that's it. That's it for February. Now, if things went differently, certain movies would have come out in February, like The Black Phone and Rumble and Ambulance. Those would have come out, but they didn't. Rumble came out on this Paramount Plus in December of last year. Black Phone went to June, and Ambulance went to April. So yeah, if things went differently, February would have been a tad more interesting. But oh well, it still was interesting though. So that's it for February. Now we're now in March, so and besides, like with March, I think we all know what the big movie is going to be. It's the Batman. It opened with $134 million. It's it easily destroys Uncharted as the big movie of 2022 at the moment. And when it comes to the rest of the month, it's pretty dead, to say the least. I mean, you got some smaller movies like apparently Unbreakable Boy. I think X is a wide release, and I think there's an anime that's also a wide release. Like The Lost City is likely going to be the Batman's biggest competition, has the best chance of success. But yes, with the exception of the Batman and even the Lost City, March is going to be a month to forget. So yeah, March is going to be very fun. It would have been a little more interesting if Disney didn't, you know, pull an 11th hour move and yeeted Turning Red to Disney Plus, right? It they could have just done like the Disney Plus Premier Access thing. I don't know why they didn't, but ugh, it's infuriating, and I feel for the Pixar artists who are really pissed at this decision. I feel for them. I understand, and I'm on their side when it comes to Disney's dumb decisions like that. But anywho, yeah, that's it. So yeah, anywho, yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn notifications, share the whole drill. Want to check out more videos like this? I got playlists on the homepage. Fill with all previous recap videos I've done throughout the past few years. I've been doing this. So if you want to watch any of those, you can go right ahead. There's also box office predictions where I predict box office for movies. Obviously, this weekend there's nothing, so I won't be doing it again until the 18th. So stay tuned for that. But if you want to watch any of the past box office predictions I made this year, and if you want to watch all my prediction videos for every February movie I covered, you can in the 2022 prediction video playlist. So go do that. There's also there's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. Uh, Last one I did was about the whole Russia Ukraine thing situation. There's been nothing after that. It's been very quiet when it comes to like release dates, which is a good thing because I actually want to cover these movies. I'm sick of them getting pushed back endlessly. So I don't know. It'll probably be a while before we get another canceled episode. So yeah, but if you want to watch any of the past cancel episodes on the channel, there's now like 111 episodes. Yeah, plenty to choose from. We're right on the edge of the 2 year anniversary of this series. So yeah, go watch all of them chronological order. Just see how much has changed in those 2 years. It's something. It's crazy to think about. But yeah, if you want to watch all those videos, go right ahead. Go nuts. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.